All right, we are in for a treat. I'm so excited. My name is Alexis Bennett Parker. I'm the shopping director at Essence Magazine, and I am so excited because I'm here with Anayo. I can't wait to dig into her story, and so I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Okay, hello? Okay, got it. Hi, everyone. My name is Anayo Awuzie, and I am the founder of Carefree Magazine. And I'm super excited to talk to you today, Alexis, about my book, Black Women in Bloom, which is out now, available for pre order and shipping this August.
Amazing. So I want to know what was the moment where you realized that Black women's stories needed to be told through Carefree Magazine?
Yeah, thank you. So I got my start of my career in media, and I studied journalism, and my whole goal was to tell Black women's stories. And so I was working in Black-owned media companies, and really hoping that that's what we would be doing. And I think in my journey, I realized that the goal of some of the media companies that I worked at was less about telling our stories and more about trying to get clicks, trying to get advertising dollars, which of course is important. But I really wanted to tell the stories that I was hearing when I talked to my friends or, in the silos of my home and with my mother and my grandparents and, the stories that we talk about amongst each other, but rarely get talked about in public forums or online or in media. And so Carefree was born from that. I've lived in a bunch of different places. I've lived in Mexico, I've lived in Italy and London, and I've met so many different Black women who, across the diaspora, had stories that I was hearing from my friends back home here in the US and learning that we had so much more in common that we were going through than we had apart. And so Carefree is the manifestation of that. It is the belief that every Black woman has a story that deserves to be told. And so I started this platform in 2020. And every week we publish a new Black female author from around the world on stories of life, love, and adventure. And it's essentially a space for Black women to just be. And that's what I've always wanted as someone who, grew up more shy, more of like a late bloomer. I really wanted a space to be able to express myself and felt like I belonged online. And I think Carefree is the manifestation of that space.
I love that. I love that you kind of mentioned, a lot of publications are chasing clicks, and it is a business. We do have to keep the lights on.
Absolutely.
But I love that you're really centering our stories and giving women, Black women, a space to express themselves. So,
Absolutely.
but before I go any deeper, I would love for you to really break down the difference between representation and documentation. I think, especially given the political climate and just the day and age that we're in right now, that's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, we're always fighting for representation. We're always trying to make sure that we are in the room, that we are considered, that we are counted. But I think we've gotten to a place where we know that we need to be represented, but we also need to be documented. Our stories are actively being erased and dismantled. And I think Black authors are have some of the most banned books on a federal level. On a lot of our health initiatives are being dismantled that help support Black women's well-being, and that directly affects our livelihood. We are being laid off at a rate higher than every other group in the US. And so right now, it's more important than ever to be able to document and say that we were here and to preserve our legacy and preserve our stories. And I think within our communities, a lot of things get passed down orally, but it's really important to be able to write it down as it was, to be able to photograph it, create art around it, and have something that actually shows this is who was here, this is what happened, this is the honest truth of what occurred. And I think with documentation and archiving, there is a preservation of our cultural identity. And so with the online space, it's interesting because you can go and edit a story. I can go right now and post something on Threads and then within 15 minutes I can edit it. And maybe you saw it and it said one thing, but then 15 minutes later it says something else. And so, the digital space, it's important for us to show up and archive there as well and tell our stories. But I really wanted to publish this book, Black Women in Bloom, in the physical so that we are honoring our honest truths and showing that Black women exist, beyond the poles of Black excellence and Black oppression, that we did have humanity and our full womanhood was able to be expressed, and the generations that come after us will be able to learn about and read about it in this book.
Wow. I feel like there's so much to unpack there. For me, on a personal level, I've been thinking about just my own family history and talking to my grandmother and getting these stories from her, but not only orally, like we need to write it down.
Absolutely.
And then you also mentioned the digital, like, of course, you can get things published immediately. You can put a story up in 2 seconds and it can reach millions of people, and that's a beautiful thing. But also, like you said, it can be edited and it can be changed over time. So there's something still so unique about just having pen to paper, having the actual story told on pages where it's preserved and it can't be changed.
Absolutely.
So I really love that you broke all of that down for us. What I want to also ask you about Black Women in Bloom. So what exactly does that title mean, or what does it mean beyond just the title? So.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because the book is very personal to me, even though it is an anthology. So Black Women in Bloom is a coffee table book. It's an anthology of stories from Black women around the world on their becoming journeys. And so I think when I think of Black women, and when I think of what a lot of us go through, I think of a flower, and I think of the journey of how a flower blooms. And so, planting seeds and cultivating the soil and making sure that we're getting enough light, enough water as we grow and sprout. Maybe there's some thorns along the way, some bumpy roads, but at the end of the day, we always bloom. And maybe with a little bit of pollination or a little bit of help from our communities, or different experiences like travel or pivoting, we are able to continue to reproduce and then fully blossom. And so when I thought about the book and, the name of it and what it would be, it was really about how I saw Black women. And through the stories we've been publishing in Carefree for the past 6 years, which is crazy, one thread kept coming up, which is just in all of the stories, no matter what the Black women were going through, there are stories about women who are dealing with, navigating the world with bipolar disorder, or navigating the world as sex workers, or navigating the world and questioning their faith and trying to figure out, what they believe in. In the end, they always found themselves and found who they were meant to be and the place that they were meant to be in. And so when I thought of that, I really just thought of a flower and how flowers, no matter the condition, roses grow from concrete, daisies grow in all kinds of conditions. And that's what I think about when I think of Black women. I just think about that perseverance and also that softness and femininity and ability to still, no matter what the world throws at us, still show up and be just beautiful, unique beings. We are multifaceted and multidimensional. We have so much inside of us. And I think that is exactly what I think about when I think about flowers. And I just see the synergy between us and flowers. And that's why Black Women in Bloom, that's how I came to the title and the whole concept of it all.
I love that analogy of just like blooming and growing, and we are so similar to plants. And
Yeah.
It reminds me of a video I saw on Instagram of actual bell peppers growing in a parking lot from
Wow.
concrete.
Yeah.
So it's like no
Nature
matter
is
what
crazy.
what the soil looks like, I feel like
Yeah.
Black women are the same way. We're resilient and we can grow through anything.
Absolutely.
So I really love that. I want to touch on you moving from the digital space to the book world. What has that transition been like for you? And if you could explain some of the differences you've learned about.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So as I mentioned, I got my start in the digital world and been publishing Carefree Mag for the past 6 years. And so week after week, every week we publish one story from a black female author around the globe. And so the stories, we want to give them space to breathe. And I know you know this, in the digital landscape, you're constantly trying to publish stories. But at Carefree, we just published one. And so the whole mission of that space was to create a platform for black women writers to get their first byline and to get paid to write. And so we've been achieving that mission for the past 6 years. I've been self-funding that mission. And the book has become this physical manifestation of, like, yes, we want to have this platform online, but sometimes we also just want to have a space in our homes to just be. And so we want to have a space to just indulge in a book in the comfort of our home, in the safety of our home, and be able to just be there. So I wanted to be able to catch black women whether they were online or offline. And I think as the digital spaces are changing, I think it's really important for us to also be able to have space to tell our stories in the real world, that a lot of us are exiting online because going on the internet for black women today is dangerous. It's, there's a lot of harm that's caused when we, spend too much time online. And so being able to unplug, I want to be able to, catch black women, whether you're, online or exiting the doom scroll. And so that's why I think the physical also is important, and why I published this book, as well as the digital.
I love that. I am personally chronically online, and sometimes I need a
Same.
break. And I even published a story this morning before I came here. So, what I would love to hear now, I want to hear about some of the stories that you've told. Are there any particular stories that have really stood out to you, or something that you think about to this day?
Yeah. I think, ooh, they're excited over there.
What are we missing?
I think, the stories, so there are 30 stories in the book, and over the past 6 years, we published over 200 stories. So these 30 stories are truly, in my mind, some of the ones that resonated just the most with our audience and with me, and really, as we were putting it together, just kind of fit that whole theme of blooming and growing and sprouting and planting seeds. I think the first book in the story, which is the first story in the book, is about a black woman who is homeless, and she moves from New York to LA and ends up living in an RV. And she talks about how being homeless has not deterred her self-image at all. She still puts on her makeup every day. She still gets dressed. She calls herself a homeless bad bee in the story, and she just says how, no matter this, despite this circumstance, something that, a lot of people tend to, we see our own unhoused community members and maybe just pass over them or look down. She hasn't let it take away her dignity at all. And the story is so triumphant, and it just makes you so excited for her and what she's been able to go through and grow through. And I made it the first story because I think it sets the tone for the entire book. And it's just really powerful about, how black women are able to move through this world despite our adversity.
Wow, that is inspiring, for you to be able to get up every day and put on makeup and be homeless.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what do you want black women to feel when they get to the last page in the book? What's the feeling that you hope that they get from reading the book?
Ooh. So I see the book as both a mirror and a mirror and a window. So I want black women to feel that maybe an increase in empathy. So you were able to get a peek into what another black woman was going through, and be able to have a bit more understanding of, your sister from across the pond or across the way. I also want black women to feel in some of the stories maybe some reflection, moments of reflection, and seeing that, hey, this woman is going through something similar that I'm going through, and this is how she dealt with it, and maybe this can give you some, ability to sit with yourself and think about how you can deal with what you're going through. I also want Black women to feel like it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to be a little messy. I think a lot of us are, you know, we show up very prim and proper and put together, and we don't look like what we're going through ever. And so I want this book to feel like a permission slip to show up as you are, and it's okay if, you know, you're unraveling a little bit, and to talk to people about that and to share that, because a lot of us are going through it. And when you read the stories in the book, you'll see how, you know, life gets messy, and we're making decisions and we're pivoting and we're embracing change and we're, you know, healing and going to therapy. And I just want Black women to feel like, wow, okay, I really am multifaceted, and I really am, you know, I really do have this power inside me that doesn't always have to be strong. It can be soft. I think the book is an act of soft resistance. And so reading it, knowing that you are still beautiful no matter what you're going through, but there's also somebody around the world who gets you, and you don't have to feel shame in your story or in what's happening that maybe you feel, you know, shouldn't be, or feel isn't, as a Black woman, isn't how you should be showing up, or isn't how you should be seen. Like, we can be seen in an array of different ways, and they're all valid and they all have value.
That's so beautiful. I feel like, I love how you said it's an act of soft resistance. Yeah. That is so beautiful. And I feel like there's just something for us all to take from hearing about other people's stories and connecting and knowing that nothing we're going through is new under the sun. We're not alone. Other people are probably experiencing something similar. So I'm excited to check out the book. It's available for pre-order, and we have some copies over here, right?
Yes.
So make sure you guys get your copy, and thank you so much for this talk.
Thank you so much, Alexis.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you.